I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. You may be seated. Thank you, Dr. Bahr. We're privileged tonight to have Mr. Steve Olson, who's the chaplain for South Davis Community Hospital and the Inn at Barton Creek. We appreciate you being here, Steve, and we'll ask you to offer a prayer. Thank you.
Our beloved Heavenly Father, we come before Thee as citizens of this great community. As citizens of the world, we are grateful to know that we are all Thy children, coming from different backgrounds, races, creeds, colors, but we are all beloved by Thee. We are thankful for this knowledge. We are grateful for this wonderful community of Bountiful, and we pray blessings to be upon every person who lives here. And please be with the leaders who give so much of their time and service. Inasmuch as tonight this meeting has been called to select a new city council person, we pray that there will be great communication, understanding, and appreciation for different points of views. We ask Thee to guide and bless the person who will be selected, that he or she will be able to serve with the idea of service above self and helping to make a difference in the world. We would also ask Thee, Father, to bless Beth Holbrook, who has served so well and faithfully. Bless her in her new position. Now we pray for Thy blessings to be with us during the proceedings of this meeting. And we ask this humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Sorry, I have to leave. I've got to go to a viewing.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Olson. We appreciate that beautiful prayer. And you really said about Beth what I was going to mention, where we miss her, and we're so proud of her with her new assignment. I'm going to start with something that perhaps we would end with, but I think when we end tonight, we may be all tired and might not hear what I have to say. And I think I'm sure, although I haven't talked to my fellow council persons here about this, they're going to feel the same way, that this is really impressive. The fact that we have one position, we had 60 applications that were picked up from Shauna, our city recorder, of interest for this position. And I think it says a lot about our community. This really says a lot. I'm not sure if this isn't the largest group of individuals seeking one position in a city that is almost entirely just service. The compensation is small and the sacrifice is large, and the responsibility is broad with all the things that a city council person has to do. For the last 5 years, I've been able to observe this council, and it is really impressive to me. These folks who serve and who have the votes that change our lives every day by some of the decisions that they have to make during the year. Hey, we have a great cross-section of Bountiful people who are here. We have doctors and lawyers and just about every description of business person and education that could be from different parts of the world that have, it's really just truly amazing. And I would like to I think encourage our city council to start out tonight by applauding all of you for being here and doing what they've done. Thank you. Very impressive. With that, we will look at and listen to the procedures of tonight before we go forward. We're going to be here together for a while. We're going to turn some time over to our city attorney, Clint Drake, and he will kind of give us the starting nod here.
Okay. Sorry, we just had a little bit of a concern that this wasn't live streaming, but our computer says it is, and we just got confirmation that it is. So yeah. We're good. Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to do something that I rarely do, and that is I'm going to address the crowd instead of the council.
Please.
And I'm going to do that just to kind of explain the process of what to expect for all of you that are here and are interested persons. And we provided you with a document that explains this, but I'm just going to go over it in a little bit more detail, or maybe a little bit less, and we're just going to kind of help you to know what to expect. Before we start, I just wanted to mention a few things. First, there are no Bountiful City staff here other than myself, acting as the chief legal advisor for the city, making sure that we're following the law, our city recorder, and our new recording secretary. We didn't tell her she had to sit over there. We told her she could sit over here, but she opted to sit over there. That's where all the controls are, so she's over there. That was done deliberately. This is a legislative act that's going to be done by the city council, and we did not want the public to feel as if there was any sort of influence by the staff. So there are no staff here other than us, and we're here just to make sure that the meeting runs smoothly. Second of all, I just wanted to recognize the efforts of staff, in particular our city recorder, Shauna Andrus, who has put a lot of time into this. This was not an easy task, and this being the first time that any of us in the staff have gone through this process, we had to put a lot of things together. I also wanted to compliment the council on their direction and say thank you for all the direction you gave. And I can say that I know that they have put in a lot of thoughtful time and consideration into reviewing these applications. So with that, I will just briefly mention that they have received your applications and they have reviewed your applications. Those were given to them about 30 minutes after the deadline is when we put those out to be distributed to the council. And I know that they have been thoughtfully considering those throughout the last few days. That was really the first opportunity that interested persons had a chance to acquaint themselves with the council, and it's through that process that they now have a better feel for who you are and what to expect from you. Then comes the important part of this meeting, and that's the interview. There really aren't many state laws for this process other than it needs to be in a public meeting, which we are here for, and each interested person needs to be interviewed. And so that's why we're here tonight. We had 40 people that submitted applications, and 39 are still have still submitted their application. We had one that has withdrawn. So we've got 39 interviews to conduct here tonight. So I hope that you'll understand that some of the process that we're doing here tonight is an effort to make this as efficient as possible. I did the calculations. Each interested person will be given 3 minutes with the potential for follow-up questions, just factoring in 1 minute for follow-up questions and switching of people that will present. We're going to be here for just over 2.5 hours, and that's just for the interviews. So we tried to make a very efficient process, and this is what that process is. Each speaker or interested person will be given 3 minutes. You can see right up there in front of the mayor that there is a clock. It's not on right now, it's on. You can see that it's in bright red. It gives you the amount of time that you have. I just want to warn you, and this is done in the interest of fairness and efficiency, that when that counts down to 0, it will make a loud beeping noise, and it will continue to make that loud beeping noise until you finish your remarks and sit down. So that is the buzzer's polite way of saying your 3 minutes is up. So please just use those 3 minutes. You don't have to use all of the 3 minutes, but every interested person will be given up to 3 minutes. When they are finished, they will be given an opportunity, if the council chooses to be asked questions. You may what are we calling that? A tally sheet with the. Let me see one of those. Each sheet has every candidate's name on here. It's in alphabetical order. That is not the way that you will be interviewed. You'll be randomly selected here in just a moment. But each candidate has a name on here, and there are 6 slots. The council had given us direction that they wanted to have 15% be the finalists. And so 15% of 39 is about 5.85, which rounded up is 6 candidates. So there will be 6 finalists. The council may select up to 6 people. They are not required to. They can select 1, they can select 2, they can select as many as they want, up to 6, in this order. First choice, second choice, third choice, all the way to 6th. The first choice means that they will get 6 points. And the 6th choice means that they will get 1 point, and then of course everything in between. The interested persons with the 6 highest vote counts will be the finalists. To be clear, that does not mean you are the person that is appointed to the vacancy. If the person who gets the most amount of points, that is not the person that is being appointed. That must be done by motion and a roll call vote of the council. If there is a tie for 6th place, any tying members will be included as a finalist. So once we have given those ballots or tally sheets to the council, actually they have them already, they will make their selections. Our city recorder will review them and just make sure that it's clear to her what those votes are, to make sure that there's not any confusion. And then we'll take a 15-minute recess, approximately 15 minutes. That will give us a chance to tally those votes, and then we will reconvene. When we reconvene, we will then post the top 6 finalists, or if there's a tie, possibly more, on that screen. If we have technical difficulties, which is known to happen from time to time, we'll use that whiteboard back there in the back. That will be the finalists. At that time, the council can make a motion if they would like and do their vote right then. An example of why they might do that is there's a clear points leader that demonstrates that everybody had the same first choice. That might be a reason to make a motion right there. Or they could just make it based on whatever feeling that they had, whatever selection they wanted to make. If they don't, those 6 finalists will be given 1 additional minute to address the council, and again the council can ask any follow-up questions. And then at that point, the mayor will just call for a motion, and we'll wait for a motion. Somebody will be, one of the council members will make a motion to appoint a certain person. Council will vote. In the event of a tie, the mayor casts the tiebreaker. So that's the process that we'll follow here tonight. I'll probably chime in again here once we've gone through all the interviews, or at any time that the mayor would like me to. But that's kind of the process. That's the process that we'll be following. Let me just make sure. Oh, and then one final thing. This is in case there are any family members here or anything like that. Whoever is selected and whoever is voted in as the person to fill the vacancy, they will not be sworn in tonight. They'll be sworn in at the next meeting. The purpose of that is to allow you to have any family or friends that you want to attend your swearing in be there. So it would be at the meeting 2 weeks from tonight. Yeah, because this is a special meeting, a week from tonight. And so that's the process that we'll follow. I think I've taken enough time, unless you have any other questions, Drake, Council.
Just to make it clear that there's no secret ballot up here.
There is no secret ballot up there. They were just handed before the meeting. They all look like this. And they will be filled out at the conclusion of the interviews. Each council member will write their name at the top and make the appropriate marks.
And the public will know who we voted for.
The public will know who you voted. It's a public record. We're not going to post. We're just going to post the top 6 point tallies today, but it is a public record. If anybody requested that, we would provide that to them. Also, just one final note that I failed to mention. For some reason, in a few of our packets that went out, we had indicated that the applications would be posted to the website. We only posted your names to the website. We did not post the applications. Again, those are public record, but we didn't post them to the website. Those can be requested, and we would certainly provide those. But that we just felt like with the short amount of time that we had, it was going to be difficult to get those posted, and they're a public record if anybody wants them. Any other questions, council? Oh, no. Sorry, city recorder just told me that they don't have these yet, so they will be filled out. She'll pass those out after the interview process.
Okay.
Mayor?
No, it's good.
Okay.
Ready to move.
All right, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to turn the time over to Shauna to just draw the names. What we're going to do on the process of the interviews is she's going to draw all the names right now, and I know that's going to be difficult to remember, so what we will do is we'll draw all of those names, and then we will just call the person that is up as well as the follow-up person. And so I'll explain it again really quickly once we've drawn all the names, but I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Shauna to draw the names.
Rob Hunter. Oh. Nicholas Price. Nicole Simons. Brad Johnson. Adam Long. Tiffany Twitchell Smith. Tatiana Fallon. Bryce Krogue. Beth Child. David Peterson. Kason Kendall. Elaine Oaks. Larry Livingston. Emily Maybe. Kate Bradshaw. Jay Alexander. Doug Smith. Seth Wright. Teresa Call. David Cope. Bret Hutchings. I got to go slower so he writes so I can read it. Keenan Price. Richard Watson. Joshua Holdstock. Jamie Welch Jaro. Tiffany Smith. Millicent Bahr. Gary Nelson. Shirley Simmons. Randall Edwards. Richard Strong. Jim Clark. John Bohus. Sorry, I said that wrong. I know, John, I'm sorry.
Is it Bowis?
Bowis, yes, I'm sorry. Seth Allen. Joseph Pasco. David Hill. Alex Densley. Dave Wheeler. And last but not least, Kathleen Anderson.
Okay, assuming she can read my writing, we've got these all listed. And just to give an example, now that we know the order, what we will do is we'll say, okay, Rob Hunter is up, followed by Nicholas Price, sorry. I was writing shorthand. And then it would be, okay, after Rob Hunter sits down, we would say, oh, Nicholas Price is up, Nicole Simons is next. And that's the way we'll proceed. Just so you know, if your name is called and you're not present, we'll go ahead and just continue. This was included in the sheet that we provided you. But if you're not present when your name is called, we'll continue, and that disqualifies you. We've just got to move in the interest of efficiency so we can hopefully make this meeting only be a November 20th meeting and not a November 20th and 21st meeting.
Right, and if you are able to kind of, that second person's name, maybe to we don't want you standing in the aisles, but if you're able to move to the aisle where it makes it a little more efficient, that'd be great.
Okay, so
Rob Hunter is up and Nicholas Price is next.
Mayor, City Council, you have my application. So you already know that I've done thousands of hours of work to make Bountiful a better place. You know that because of that work, I've become familiar with many of the departments in Bountiful City, including public safety, water, power, and street departments. And you know that the reason that I want to be on the City Council is because I love Bountiful and I think I can help. Instead of telling you more that you already know, I'm going to tell you about a flight I took and how it relates to leadership. 16 years ago, I was a relatively new pilot, and I was flying a small airplane from Alaska home to Utah. I was flying with another pilot who was much more experienced. He was a flight instructor. He entered our destination into his GPS and took off, flying in a straight line towards home. I took a little more time studying my map and picking out a path that went through the valleys and around the mountains. It would take longer and be harder to navigate, but get to the same place. I took off, and about 40 minutes later, heard the other pilot on the radio, and he was in trouble. His path was blocked by mountains that rose up into the clouds. He had gotten around a couple mountains, but then got stuck and lost. I told him to stay where he was and to give me his GPS coordinates. I plotted them on my map, found a safe way to get to him, and a few minutes later was there and was able to lead him out the way I had come. The lessons I learned from this: 1, in order to lead, you need to know where you are. 2, in order to lead, you need to know where you're going. 3, the best way may not be the quickest or the shortest way or the easiest way. But when you're flying an airplane or spending taxpayer money, you shouldn't be taking risks. The most important lesson, the one that he demonstrated to me and that may have saved his life, was that you have to be humble enough to get input and help from people even when you are used to being the expert. If you choose me to be on the City Council, I will be seeking your guidance, especially at first. I'll be seeking the guidance of the 213 Bountiful City employees that know more about their area of the city than anyone else. And I'll be actively seeking the input from the 44,107 residents of Bountiful, who I think are the greatest asset that Bountiful City has. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
Thank you, Rob. Nicholas Price is next with Nicole Simons up next.
Nicholas Price.
Nick Price. Okay. Nicole Simons.
As she's coming up, just so we're clear, that means that Mr. Price has been disqualified.
And up next is Brad Johnson after Nicole.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Simons. I have lived in Davis County for over 40 years. I have served as a public school teacher, and I currently work in customer service. I look forward to representing our community with integrity. Being a female role model, I see that we have had a somewhat balanced council, and it would be awesome to keep it that way. I desire to serve and be involved in the city in which I live to help build a better community. As serving on the City Council, would be willing to review the issues, be open to input from the community as well as counsel from the City Council as we review what needs to be done. Conservative in budget and spending, providing a better community for our children in the future. I thank you for the opportunity to apply and would be happy to answer any questions if you have them this time.
Thank you.
Brad Johnson is next with Adam Long after Brad.
Thank you for hearing from me. I appreciate the opportunity to present myself in regards to the position of councilman. I've lived in Bountiful most of my adult life, a few stints in Montana and Idaho, but mostly here. Graduated from Bountiful High School in '77, and I've been a local businessman for about 20 years. I've also done an awful lot of community involvement. I'm a member of the Lions Club and a past president a couple of times there. I'm on the board at the Joy Foundation. I've chaired the Bountiful Community Service Council for a number of years, and I'm still on that council as well. I work with the Jeep Posse. I work with the Bountiful Davis Arts Center. So I've done a lot of things, and it's like when Governor Herbert said in his pitch to try and get the Olympics here again, said a lot of places say they have the know-how, but Utah has the do-how. And I think I fall in that category. I have the do-how because I've done an awful lot of that. That's not to say that some of these other guys don't put me to shame. That Rob Hunter, he's a great guy. I recently lost one of my favorite uncles, Uncle Lynn Crane, who was the first mayor of the city of Harriman, and he served there for about 12 years. And at his funeral, there were a number of things that were just amazing that were said about him, but there was a reoccurring theme. And a couple of his favorite sayings: there's no issue that's so thick or so thin that you can't find two sides to it. And another thing that he always used to say is that issues are issues and people are people. My cousin Chris was saying that after one particularly contentious city council meeting, on their ride home, he said to his dad, "Boy, that one guy was a real jerk, wasn't he?" And my uncle turned to him and he said, "Issues are issues, but people are people." And then he rattled off about a dozen things that he truly admired about that man. And my cousin Chris got the message. So that's the kind of council person that I would like to be. A year and a half ago, I broke my neck. And when they got me out of surgery, I had some deficiencies. My hands don't work quite as well as they should. And I can't look up, but I can still listen, and I can still debate, and I can still serve. I think that I would do a very good job. I'm dressed a little informally. That's because I can't do buttons and zippers anymore. And I'm a little scraggly because I'm growing it out so I can be the center of attention in my grandchildren's Christmas pictures. So thank you for your consideration, and I'm open to any questions.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Adam Long is next with Tiffany Twitchell-Smith up next.
Mayor and Council, it's an honor to be here tonight. My name is Adam Long. I'm an attorney. I'm a partner at a local law firm. Unlike most of the people that have talked so far, I'm not a lifelong Bountiful resident. I've been here about 3.5 years, and one of the reasons I moved to Bountiful is because it's a great city. It's a great city because of its location. It's also a great city because of how it's been governed. I think the council and the mayor have done really an outstanding job, and if anything, I'd like to continue that legacy. I'm here because I heard that local government service is the path to fame and fortune. We'll see how that goes. My practice focuses on redevelopment and tax incentives, and also electric utilities primarily. Expertise, which is very helpful in a council position in Bountiful. More than that, I really care about Bountiful. I think it has great potential. I think it's a great spot. The city has a lot of advantages. One thing I would like to see is more economic development. I think Main Street in particular could be a lot better. Again, great potential, and that's not to knock the city's current economic development. And Chad Wilkinson, I know, wears a lot of hats. He does a good job with what he has. I'd be honored to serve. I'm honored to be among this group of interested people willing to do the same. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Tiffany Twitchell-Smith is next. And after Tiffany is Tatiana Fallon. Is Tiffany here? Okay. Tatiana? Okay. Bryce Krogue. Bryce?
Tatiana.
Bryce? Oh, Tatiana? Oh, okay, sorry. And after Tatiana is Bryce Krogue.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Some years ago, when I knocked doors in the former Soviet Union, I would hear, "Kato Tom," or "Who is there?" fearfully yelled through a heavy reinforced door. Every time I heard this, it made me think about my door in Bountiful. We have an open door policy in my home. We're constantly inviting neighbors and family and strangers and foster children into our home. And I believe we're able to do that because of people like you. Because Bountiful is a safe and secure city. I'm not afraid of who is on the other end of that door. But I worry that if my generation doesn't step up and lead, we won't have that for the continuing generations. And that is why I want to serve. I know that I am young, but serving is not something new to me. I started working at the legislature at 15 as a citizen lobbyist. And in 2007, when the property assessment went awry, my neighbors came to me at 19, and I held a city council meeting, or a city meeting. Hundreds of people came, we organized from there, and we were actually able to get the laws changed. So I have been active in serving this city. I love this city. I want to see some things continue to happen here. I believe the city council is doing a really good job, and I want to see that continue. I just want to also see that my generation becomes more involved. I want to see us become more active on the social media and other things that my generation is kind of addicted to and therefore needs in order to get involved, and use my strengths to help work with already the amazing city council members that we already have. I also would like to see that our veterans are honored. I have several members of my family that have served in the armed forces and continue to serve, and I feel like that is an important legacy we leave. I also want to see that our children get the support that they need. And I know that Bountiful has a limited tax base, and I want to see us build our communities stronger and rely more on nonprofits and community to build that, and also see us grow stronger as a city. And I believe that I can offer that as a member of the younger generation, as a millennial who actually wants to be involved. So thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. Up next is Bryce Krogue, and then Beth Child will be after Bryce.
Hello, I'm grateful there's this opportunity, and I want to thank each of you for all the service that you do for us each day. And I'm sure this weekend was not your favorite, and I'm sure you had lots to do in your lives, and you don't want to read all this, so thank you. I just want to start by saying you know all about me from the information that I've submitted, but I would like to talk about the best thing about Bountiful, and that is our culture. And I think a lot of people have alluded to that. I was born and raised here, and I chose to stay here and raise my children here because it's the best place to live. And I want people to want to do that, and I want people to come here that haven't lived here before. And I want business to come here and know that it's a great place to be a business. And one of the things that I think Bountiful struggles with is marketing how great we are and getting people to understand that. And about a month ago, I was with my husband, and we were at the new sushi restaurant called Fat Fish over on 2600 South. And we'd been there a few times before, and we love it, and it has great food. And this time I decided to order a little bento box, and it was so cute. And I just thought, I'm going to take a picture of this and post it and tell everybody, come eat here. This is awesome. And I thought, well, the only people that are going to see that are the friends that I have on Facebook. And I thought, why isn't there a way for us to show all of Bountiful and South Davis County and Utah and the world how great these things we have in Bountiful are? And I came up with an idea that night that I put in my papers to you called Best of Bountiful. And I thought it would be a great way to do a Facebook page, or call Twitter that too, or Instagram, something where the residents themselves can actually interact. Because the Bountiful City Facebook page is great, but nobody interacts on it. Sometimes people will like it, and there'll be like 3 likes, you know. And it would be great if the people could drive it, and if the businesses could drive it, and we could go and have a good meal and post it to Best of Bountiful and say, hey, you guys got to try this bento box. It was awesome. Or we go to an activity at the park and say, hey, farmers market was so great this week. You got to try the whatever you had that was great, or I went to this, this place and they helped me with my taxes, they're the best, you should go there. Things that we can promote each other, and it would get the residents involved in wanting to participate and not just going somewhere that's a one-sided website that they get information but they have no way to connect with each other. And I just thought that would be a great way to keep our culture strong and to include the younger generation who is on social media all the time. Maybe we could get more than 10 people to a council meeting because people would be interested, and if they're on Facebook looking at their other things, then we could post, hey, we had 10 people at council meeting tonight and we discussed really important things. How about let's get 20 next time? And just, whatever we can do to help promote the greatness of Bountiful and support that culture and help it to stay the best place that it is. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bryce. Beth Child is up next with David Peterson after Beth.
Good evening. This is a remarkable group of applicants here tonight. I don't envy your job. I believe that the choice tonight will come down to what voices need representation on the City Council, what voices in Bountiful need to be heard, and the applicant that best represents them. My youngest daughter is a senior in high school, and I'm a newly minted grandma. My life is changing. I've devoted the past 20 years to raising children and giving all my time and energy and skills to our schools and to our community. Now that my children are grown, I still have that same passion to serve. In fact, I would say it has grown, and now I have time. The skills that I've developed over the years as a listener, a creative problem solver, a peacemaker, a hard worker, and an advocate for children, I believe qualify me to do good work on this council. I have a lot to learn about city management, but I love to study, I love to ask questions, I love to listen to all sides of arguments. I will put in the time and the effort needed to make informed decisions. I feel, of course, that my voice is the voice needed on this City Council, and I thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Beth. David Peterson is next, and then Kason Kendall.
Many things have changed in the last 30 years since I moved to Bountiful, but the pride that I feel when I tell someone that I'm from Bountiful hasn't wavered at all. My name is David Peterson. I live just below the B and south of the gun range. However, tonight, I would like you to think of me as Tylenol. That's because there's 25 years of growing pains from this northeast quadrant of the city. The headaches relate to planning, fiscal, safety, parks and recreation, open spaces. To illustrate, in May 1994, the Bountiful City newsletter noted that 90% of the city is built out, and future projects will come from random fill-in lots, not new subdivisions. So that's 24 years ago. They said it was 90% filled. Like every strong organization, the city analytically and deliberately puts the pieces of its puzzle together. The final large piece of the Bountiful puzzle is the area in that northeast area by the B and by the big parking lot and some of the recreational areas. How does this relate to tonight's focus? Well, I believe an interim leader, such as the one that you're considering for the city council role right now, should be able to build trust quickly and concentrate on reaching a few specific goals with tangible objectives. Now's not the time to try and boil the ocean. This is the same approach I used when I was asked to be the CFO and a board member over at Centerpoint Legacy Theater in Centerville. After there were some problems during the initial move-in phase with the new building and some things there. And knocking those out, as Councilwoman Harris can attest, the financial stability of the theater is in good shape. Tonight I ask for your consideration in helping eliminate those headaches. Over the years I've met with 3 mayors, many council members and department leaders to discuss the area and possible resolutions. Many short-term solutions have come from these meetings, and I'm looking to work together on long-term solutions. This summer, Annette from the city and I worked together to organize a very successful gathering in Doug's yard, just below the B. We also had, Doug brought a lot of yogurt too, and custard. We were honored to have the mayor and most of the city council, many department heads, the senior leader from the Forest Service, all 3 elected county commissioners, owners of the undeveloped land, a representative of Rainy Homes, and then about 50 local homeowners. Everyone is vested in this, and I'm suggesting that the Bountiful City team work cooperatively with all of these other partners to address these issues and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Kason Kendall is next, followed by Elaine Oaks.
Mayor and council members, it's an honor to be with you tonight. Technology is the present and technology is the future. And so cities that are adapting with technology are thriving, and they're going to continue to thrive. The average age of the people in Utah is 29.2 years. And so we could benefit by having an individual on the council that is close to that age. We would benefit by having an individual with fresh perspectives that knows how to navigate technology and understands how to operate a social media platform. I can be that person, but technology isn't my only strength. I have experience in internships with the Lieutenant Governor's office, with the state legislature. I worked on a winning congressional campaign for this last election, and I currently teach geography and Utah studies at South Davis Junior High. My father is a small business owner in Bountiful, and I also own a small window washing business. And so the well-being of our local economy is something that is very important to me. I'll do all I can to seek and attract technology startups here in Bountiful. Provo and some other cities in the state that are doing extremely well and whose populations are growing, that's one of the main things that they're doing. My brother is about to graduate with a degree in computer science, and he has companies literally just knocking on the door, emailing him constantly, seeing what they can do to attract him. And so in my collaboration with him, I have knowledge on the kinds of things that people are looking for in a city to work and to have startups. Bountiful's given a lot to me. My parents grew up in Kearns, and that's where I lived until I was 4 years old. And so the friends that I had in this area, the quality schools that I was able to attend, I know that they impacted my life immensely. And so I want to be able to give back to the city. I'm interested in this position partly because I want to help young people get involved, and I feel like I'm in a unique position to do that as a teacher and a track coach in the area. I'm going on distance runs with my athletes daily. I'm teaching them current events, I'm teaching them history, I'm teaching them geography, these different subjects that are so related to politics. In my opinion, one of the main problems that we have in politics at all levels is the idea of confirmation bias, which you have individuals that primarily just seek out information that already confirms their pre-existing views. I would do everything possible to combat confirmation bias and to try to address issues from as many different angles and sides as possible and to be as fair and balanced as possible. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Kason. Elaine Oaks is next, and after Elaine is Larry Livingston.
Mayor Lewis, City Council members, my name is Elaine Oaks. I feel fortunate to live in such a beautiful and well-run city like Bountiful. Although I have a pioneer heritage and we have lived here for 15 years, I wasn't born in Utah. I moved from Rochester, Minnesota to Austin, Texas when I was 6 years old. My parents did not make a lot of money. And so, like my pioneer ancestors, I learned to work at a young age. When I was 11, I started babysitting. I scooped ice cream at age 13. In high school, I waited tables and worked in a department store and was the Easter Bunny one year at the mall. I worked 3 jobs at a time to support myself through college, including cleaning offices at night with my older brother. In short, I learned the importance of hard work, dependability, and teamwork. Since moving to Bountiful, I have been involved in city and county organizations and am active in bettering the community. For example, I work to get the recycling program up and going. I serve on the community councils at 2 of my children's schools. I have worked with the South Davis Rec Center on youth programs and ran and held political office in Davis County, including as Senate Chair and Davis County Political Party Secretary. My 6 children have all attended or are still attending schools in Bountiful, and 3 of them have even served on the Bountiful City Youth Council. In summary, I have played an active role in the community and enjoy working with others to solve problems. All of this is to say, I'm a pretty mainstream person who wants to serve others and improve the community in which I live. And I am grateful to be part of a community where we work together, find solutions, and we pride ourselves on pioneer heritage of hard work, frugality, and self-sufficiency. I am also grateful for the tremendous assets we have as a city, including an independent power company, the landfill, the proximity to Salt Lake City, the airport, recreation center, historical downtown, a financially well-managed city, and most of all, the people of Bountiful. I will come to the city council with some ideas, but not with a big agenda. For example, I'm interested in exploring ways we can add to our revenue streams that will benefit our community for years to come. Most importantly, I will come with an open mind and willingness to work hard and be a team player. I hope to continue the good work of this city council and city councils that have gone before us, and I'm committed to keeping a cordial and civil tone with a bit of fun in the discourse. My name is Elaine Oaks, and I'm asking for your support to join the Bountiful City Youth Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Up next is Larry Livingston, and after Larry is Emily Mabee.
You'll have to excuse me because I'm from a slightly different heritage. All my ancestors were pioneers, Utah pioneers, all of them. But I didn't grow up in Utah. I grew up on an Indian reservation, and not to put anybody down, but it's just not my cultural upbringing to put myself up. So I honestly do think that everybody here would probably do a better job than me. I just don't like to talk about myself and promote myself, but I guess one thing that I am is I'm humble and I'm willing to learn. I'm going to recite different things that I've done. I've worked hard all my life. I haven't been very successful, but I've still enjoyed life. And I moved here on purpose because I wanted to live in a conservative community. Now, that doesn't mean that liberal communities are bad, but I just don't think government is the solution. And for most things, some things, yes, but I hope you won't be lured away by that false propaganda. I worked a restaurant. I worked as a Walmart greeter. I've worked as a custodian. I've ran for Davis County Commission 3 times, lost. I've been a plumber at a factory. I've been an elementary school teacher, which was my favorite job. I love those third grade kids. I've been a foreign language banker for Chase Bank. I'm very talented at foreign languages. I've studied 20 of them. I've been in retail. I've done various sales positions. I've been a movie extra. I've worked fast food. I've been an electrician's helper. I've been in the handcart days as a volunteer. I've worked for a bank, mortgage company as a loan officer. I ran for Clearfield City Council 3 times and lost. I've done pest control. I've been a forest firefighter, and I almost lost my life several times. I've been a substitute teacher for 20 years because I love kids. Never been able to have any. So that's my way of being a parent. I was a political activist for 5 years. I was in the travel industry. I've been an investment banker. I was an investment banker in Minneapolis. I've been a health insurance agent, so I understand Medicare, Medicaid, and affordable health care. I've been in retail and a lot of other things, but my seconds are going to run out. I think the best thing I've done for Bountiful is I've helped 10 homeless people who are wandering the streets here, and I felt that Bountiful was probably too expensive for them. So I got them a job. They don't want to pay anymore, but they're not wandering the streets. I think the solution is not to be a snob, not that any of you are, but it's not to be a snob and it's not socialism. They need a friend.
Thank you, Larry. Next up is Emily Mabee, and after Emily is Kate Bradshaw. Emily? Okay, Kate, you're up, and after Kate is Jay Alexander.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Kate Bradshaw, and I wanted to start tonight by just acknowledging the others that filled in applications and submitted them tonight. It demonstrates that there is tremendous interest in our city and a passion for a group of people that want to be of service. And while all of us hope to be selected tonight, most of us will go home not being selected. And so I would hope that our names are kept, that we are put to service on behalf of the city in other ways. Perhaps on the Planning Commission or other committees. Perhaps there's a need for a special task force or a blue ribbon commission or a special project. But clearly there's a group of people here who want to be of service to their community. This is a midterm vacancy, which means tonight's successful candidate arrives without a mandate from the people of Bountiful on a certain course of action and with a steep learning curve. While I have views on the challenges and opportunities before us, particularly those that come from having a robust state economy and a booming young population, I recognize that those views come from a place without full knowledge of city budgets, procedures, past efforts, and other considerations leaders must take into account. Therefore, I believe that it is incumbent on tonight's successful applicant to work hard to get up to speed, to use one's background, lived experience, connections, thoughtful problem-solving skills to make the best decisions for the city in this placeholder role until the next election. Rest assured, I'm not without opinions, views, strongly held beliefs, but those are tempered with an understanding that there is much I would have to learn if selected tonight. I believe a good leader listens more than they talk, and that it is never good for leaders to get too far in front of those they seek to serve, but to stay connected through service. Toward that end, if selected, I would seek to be transparent in my actions, to be a good communicator with the citizens of Bountiful, and also those with whom I would serve. And I would do my best to continue to make Bountiful a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Up next is Jay Alexander, and then after Jay is Doug Smith.
Good evening. Unlike Bryce, I wasn't born here. My family moved here when we were 4, and George Vidal was the mayor then, and been here ever since. Love the schools I went to, love the people I grew up with. I started my 50-year KFC career on 5th South in Maine back in 1967. I met my wife there. We got married and moved to Bountiful, and we've celebrated 48 years here recently. We have 4 children, all that live within 4 miles of us. All our grandkids are here. We love Bountiful. We love what it stands for. We love the people in it. I think that it would be an honor to be able to invest the time to help Bountiful maintain these great standards and this that we have and the qualities that exist here. It would also be a privilege to participate in any growth of future developments that we may pursue to develop this community into even a better community. I'm not a real creative thinker, but there are ways we can become more wholesome and ways we can become more active. The things I've been involved in, whether it was the parade or my church, youth athletics, umpire, coach, league president. I've worked at a lot of different capacities to help different things be successful in operating the basic goal of getting out there and making this a great community. I do have the time to serve and would love to assist in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Up next is Doug Smith, and after Doug is Seth Wright.
I'm Doug Smith, and not the one you're thinking of. When he started in business selling cars in the old Marion Willie dealership, I would get his customer complaints, and his invoice was from Chrysler, and he would get my bank deposits. 5 of my 6 children have their families here. I was a member of the class of 70 at Bountiful High, one of the first football team that won a homecoming game. I'm one of 17 members of a national trade organization of 160,000 members. I was a board member of the Snow College Traditional Building Skills Program. My background is transportation. I'm in the trucking business, and for the last 25 years, I've been in that business for 49 years, but the last 25 years I've been a key part of all the major infrastructure for public works in the Wasatch Front, from the freeways to the light rail to the front runner to the airport, and it's been a great career. After the windstorm we had 7 years ago, I provided 15 trucks and logistics to clean up the trees that were down. I'm seeing that our city's changing. I'm seeing, we've had 2 car burglaries of our own family in the last month. We've had other car burglaries around our neighborhood. You know where the Bountiful Temple is? Well, I live 3 miles southwest by Dick's Market. I'm not looking for how we can grow this city. I'm looking for how we can maintain this city and improve it. But I'm not looking for where can we put additional housing, where can we stack more townhomes. Thank you very much.
Doug, just stay there for just a second, Doug. I want to, on behalf of the whole council and Bountiful City employees, thank you for what you did during the windstorm. I remember seeing your truck staging in the parking lot of Dick's Market and making countless turns back and forth between downed trees and the landfill. So thank you very much for that.
My civic duty, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Up next is Seth Wright, and after Seth is Teresa Call.
To begin, I want to wish everyone here a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I'm filled with gratitude today for my family, my faith, my country, and especially my community. I have submitted my name for consideration because I'm passionate about public service. I care deeply about our community and also open governance. A few details about myself. I have a bachelor's degree in international relations, and I'm married and have 2 children. My wife is from Armenia. I'm not sure if my bachelor's degree has anything to do with my marriage, but maybe. International relations helped me. I have a master's degree in public administration, just like our city manager, Gary Hill, and I'm also completing my doctorate in political science at the University of Utah. I love volunteering at my kids' schools, and I'm grateful to volunteer here as a home delivery person at the Bountiful Food Pantry. And it serves as a reminder to me that we don't always have to travel to some far-off country to help someone. There's someone in need just a few doors down from us. I had a wonderful experience running for City Council last year. While campaigning, I did my best to advocate for the transparency measure of live streaming City Council meetings. You may remember that I would show up to some of our meetings with my little camera, and I'd film them and then I'd share them online. Since the City Council began live streaming open meetings on January 9th of this year, its broadcasts have received almost 1,000 views. The most viewed City Council meetings were on August 7th, when the tax increase was discussed, a May 8th council meeting recognizing outstanding Bountiful and Viewmont high school students, and another City Council meeting that was about pickleball. So imagine leveraging the City Council's, or rather the city's live streaming capability to broadcast and connect to even more people in its government, in our city. Imagine a mayoral state of the city to share some of the many awards that the city has won, or the Bountiful City Youth Council could use it to create public service announcements or highlight some of their meaningful charity work. And that's something that I hope I can contribute to help with my experience. My experience teaching and volunteering has taught me that I have more to learn and I need to volunteer more. And it's also taught me that often change happens either through you or either to you or through you. My feeling is that local government is the government that touches our lives the most, and I'm humbled and grateful to be considered for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Up next is Teresa Call, and after Teresa is David Cope.
I am Teresa Call, and grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight and the amazing people that are behind me and interested in this position. I come to the table as a mom and a grandma and a parent. My husband and I own a small business in Centerville, so we have those growing pains knowledge as well. The thing that I want you to remember about me is that I am a good helper. I've told my kids, my grandkids, my husband, all the way along, I am a good helper. And you give me something to do and I can do it. I don't have all the knowledge and the expertise that is here, but I am willing to learn and feel that I could be of service to the people in Bountiful. I grew up in Cache Valley, went to Utah State, met my husband up there, and we moved to Bountiful to have a job and raise a family. So we have loved being in Bountiful, and our family is still close by us. But that's what I want you to remember about me, that I am a good helper. Bountiful is great. The opportunities that are here are great. And it would be a good opportunity for me to learn more about Bountiful City's council and government. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Teresa. Up next is David Cope, and after David is Bret Hutchings.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor and council people. I very much appreciate the opportunity to present here, but more appreciate the opportunity to just be in this room with all these fine people. It truly is humbling to sit here and see the people who are applying for this, people who are interested in this job. And I think you said it best, Mayor, that it's going to be a difficult job for you because there's a lot of very qualified and very talented people. You can't go wrong. You're going to make a good decision, whatever decision you make. And I appreciate you considering me among these fine people. My experience with Bountiful came many, many years ago when I got a job here in Bountiful when I was up at the University of Utah, and realized how much I loved it. And my wife and I decided to move out here, and we've been here ever since. That's been over 30 years ago, and we love everything about Bountiful, and that's really what prompted me to throw my hat in the ring here to try and continue that legacy. The things I love about Bountiful, the safe streets, the place to raise your children, the schools to go to, the community, the friends going to Dick's or what used to be Weiniger's, and spending an hour just talking to people as you're standing there looking at the fruit and the vegetables. I sort of miss that. I don't really have an agenda in throwing my hat in the ring except to continue that legacy. In doing so, I'd commit to you that I'd put in the time and the energy, I'd put in the thought, I'd research the projects, I'd give consideration, I'd value the opinions and respect the opinions of others. I think it's imperative that our government is open, that we have an open book, and that we're transparent, that we consider everybody's ideas, and we value those ideas, and we consider them in a very thoughtful and thorough way. And in doing so, I worry that you think I wouldn't have the time to do this, and I would. I'd commit to that. It's a time in my life, as you've heard from others, that I really feel a need to give back to the city, give back to those who have given us so much. We've had a great experience raising our children here. Some of them come back, and others will come back in the future. And I think it's a great opportunity for me to give back in service from what I've received. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next up is Bret Hutchings, and after Bret is Keenan Price.
Hi, Mayor and Council. As others have expressed, I'm pretty taken back and amazed at all the great people we have here tonight. Some I know, some I don't know, and it's great to learn about them. I'm really humbled to think, I guess, that as weird as it may sound, I was the first loser in last year's council race. And it's amazing to think that maybe some of these people have voted for me, so it's very humbling. In February of 2017 was, as Richard and Kendall may remember, I borrowed some of their time to go on a ride along with me to talk about some concerns and questions I had about infrastructure. And I'll be the first to admit I've sounded a little bit like a broken record on infrastructure, and I want you to, that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight, so don't turn me off yet. The point I want to make is from that first interaction with you guys, John Pitt, Gary Hill, I've learned a lot, and I've had the chance to serve a little bit, and the more that I learn and the more that I serve, the bigger that desire to serve more gets. So I've also, I wanted to point out, John Mark, you and your wife, you've taught me to appreciate and really understand how massive the effort is from the staff and the council, every initiative that is made to align the city or make it more relevant or to stay in compliance. I have a better understanding from I guess what you've shared in council meetings and even on Facebook, so I appreciate that. I also understand and have seen there's a lot of headache, frustration, dealing with misinformation while serving on the city council. I would look forward to that opportunity because I've seen how it can benefit others. I've seen examples where you guys have taken time out to work with an individual on a problem they may have with their property or their business, and it's changed their life for the good. So it again increases that desire that I have to serve. There's a few roles that I've held professionally and some in my personal life that I think would help me be an effective councilman, but I think commitment is what really makes the difference. So my wife and I were committed if we were given the chance. Give me the dirty work. I'll use my talents, team attitude, experience, and work ethic to try and make Bountiful better. Thanks. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, Brett. Up next is Keenan Price, and after Keenan is Richard Watson.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, staff, for your time. I hold a unique position. I'm the only city employee that has applied for this position, and as such, I recognize that I will have to quit my job. I'm willing to sacrifice everything. That's what this ability to serve means to me, and to serve the people in an even greater capacity. But a few things I want to draw your attention to that were my questions and weren't was I want to, because I'm uniquely aware of the city's needs and its strengths, I believe that we can take the council's vision for Bountiful and that we can drive it down further into the employees and into the citizens. There are specific executables that we can hold department heads to that will drive that into the rank and file employees, that if they can understand the vision that you have, that is they're interacting with individuals on the street, in the parks, on the power lines, that they can take that vision, communicate it to citizens, and we can have a greater conversation. The academic term is called a street level bureaucrat. They're really the ones who do most of the work, and if they don't understand what the council's trying to achieve, then the city seems to fall short. I have a relationship with every department head in the city. I've worked with them in accomplishing a variety of things. I worked with Chief Ross writing my master's research paper on police officer retirement. I worked with Brock Hill, Shannon Cottom on the employee committee. I was the one who created our service day. We've worked on cleaning the pond last year, the cemetery this year. Service is a part of my life. And again, because I'm willing to give it all for this. I just believe that working with department heads, we can take the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 vision that the city has, and we can get it into the hearts of the employees and to the minds of the citizens, and maybe even get our complaints to go down a little bit. But that in working with them, we can achieve a great good. Thank you.
Thanks, Keenan.
Thank you, Keenan. Next is Richard Watson, and after Richard is Joshua Holdstock.
Good evening, members of the council, mayor, and staff. First off, I want to thank you for putting up with us, and on behalf of the other candidates, I'm so thankful we didn't have to do a musical talent contest or a swimsuit competition. I would fail. Sorry, I had to lighten this meeting up. Also, I want everyone to know that Beth Holbrook was an amazing council member for our city, and I loved having her as my friend, so I'm going to miss her. I wish her well, and I hope she performs well in her new assignment. In a brief statement, you're wondering why should you appoint me to the city council? In short, why not? Everyone on the council is familiar with my volunteer work and my civic responsibilities in Bountiful. In the past 31 years of residing in Bountiful, I've been involved in some capacity or another in the community. And I didn't put on my talent part on the application, but I also have 8 years of coaching youth sports. In the past 10 years, I've been heavily involved with Bountiful and have been acquainted with some pretty amazing people. Bountiful has become a part of me, and now I am a part of Bountiful. Today, I want to commit and devote even more to this beautiful city. As a member of the city council and as a team player, I know our government, our city, will accomplish many and great things. So perhaps some familiar advertising phrases can best describe my justification for becoming a Bountiful City councilman. As a councilman, I will be like a good neighbor. I will always be there. And I bring to the council some valuable experience because I know a thing or two, because I've seen a thing or two. So, thank you.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Up next is Joshua Holdstock, and then after Joshua is Jamie Welch Jaro. Joshua? Okay. Then next is Jamie Welch Jaro, and after Jamie is Tiffany Smith.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis and members of the council. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of us tonight. And wherever Richard is, I would be okay with one of those competitions. I am encouraged to see so many of my fellow citizens step up and try to participate in this process. I understand it's difficult and time-consuming and maybe a little uncomfortable at times, but I really appreciate the method for its transparency. As you read in my resume and application, I have worked for the federal government for 7 years as a public information officer. Over that time, I've worked closely with local governments, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations. So I've gained familiarity with the issues and processes of local government, which is an important thing to understand. But perhaps what is more important is the insight I have gained working with town and city mayors, engineers, council members, citizens, business owners, housing developers, advocates, educators, and other representatives. They all have one thing in common, and that is that each has taken on the burden and opportunity of improving their community at a personal level. This is also why I applied. I really care about my community. I have lived here my entire life, and I have enjoyed the parks. I have bragged to my friends in other communities about how their snow isn't shoveled as quickly as ours is. And I know that there are difficult decisions that frequently must be made. And I also know that if we didn't care about those decisions and the processes behind them, they wouldn't be worth making. Our city is taken care of. It is sustainable. It is attractive. And it has the tax base needed to remain strong. But I was recently at a meeting held by state representatives and local representatives to consider the state taking on a Main Street improvement standard. And I was encouraged by the voices there to take part in this process. I'd like to stress one thing in particular, is that in this world, I often feel like things are far beyond my influence. But in this room is where change happens. In this room, you have an influence. And it's because you care. And I care as well. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to stand before you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Tiffany Smith is next, and after Tiffany is Millicent Bahr.
Mayor and City Council, thank you for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here and to be among such great people, so many friends and neighbors. And I know that whatever decision is made, the City Council is doing a great job, and this seat will be filled with somebody amazing. The professional work experience that I have had has helped prepare me for this position in public service. Creating and executing an Olympic program under Governor Leavitt is what brought me to Utah initially, and my love of this state and my love of Bountiful and the fact that I married a boy from Bountiful have kept me here. I grew up in a small town, and I have a great passion for growth and making sure that growth is planned and prepared for, because I've seen small cities and larger cities that have not planned for growth, and they have lost that magic and that feeling that have been in their communities. And I don't want that to happen for Bountiful. Most of the people that are moving back to Bountiful aren't strangers, but they're our own family members and kids that are growing up and coming back. And I think being able to provide affordable housing and doing some planning with transportation, economic development will be so beneficial for them, which those are our future kids. I'm a big believer in government and private partnerships. I worked for the Baby Your Baby program that was partnering between IHC, the Department of Health, and Channel 2 that brought all these entities together to help promote. And they really feel like pulling together and creating solutions among many. We can create better solutions when there are more people involved. As a parent myself, who has both children at home and grandchildren, one being raised here in Bountiful, it's an amazing place to live, and Bountiful is rich in its history. And those values are important to me and would be important to me as a member of the City Council. As a listener and problem solver, I seek to find common ground solutions. Like I mentioned, we're facing this housing affordability crisis right now across the state. But how we move forward now and plan for growth will affect whether or not our children are able to choose to live here and raise their families here in the future. Because these are city issues, they need to be worked collectively within the city and also among neighboring cities. One of Bountiful's greatest strengths is how we connect to each other, and continuing to build and connecting is one thing I will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Millicent Bahr is next, and after Millicent is Gary Nelson.
Good evening. I would like to highlight some of my unique professional experiences that have taught me we are stronger when we're together. I've had stewardship over large budgets with large organizations in both the public and private sector. Moreover, I have learned that in large organizations, certain processes must be in place for success to be achieved. My background is varied, but the common denominators are my ability to lead, communicate, and work with volunteers. When I worked in the West Wing of the Bush White House, and later as a deputy to Mrs. Laura Bush, I learned quickly the need for decorum, respect, and communication. I also received a crash course in diplomacy and governmental processes. I was recognized as a person of integrity and given a top secret security clearance with the responsibility of going into the Situation Room almost daily for various assignments. I was the person staff and volunteers called when everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I was the person who put out fires, and as a result, I work well under pressure. As executive director of Utah's chapter of the American Cancer Society, I grew into a confident leader. I was able to help my staff and volunteers find clarity in the midst of conflict. I am a mature manager with the ability to take a step back, look at facts, and consider feelings. My most recent professional role was with Primary Children's Medical Center Foundation, an experience near and dear to my heart. I quietly watched as children and their families struggled with unthinkable circumstances they navigated with grace, love, and often a bit of humor. I had a small glimpse into this type of hardship when my twins were born prematurely and spent 3 weeks in the NICU. Both struggled to breathe and were put on oxygen. However, I noticed that when I held them together, they were stronger, and their breathing was less labored. Hospital policy dictated that each baby was to be in their own crib. Finally, after 2 days of asking and advocating, my twins were placed in the same crib. Almost immediately, their oxygen levels went up, they began to breathe easier, and grew stronger together. At times, I suppose all of us feel isolated and stuck in our own crib, so to speak. We think we have to fend for ourselves or that nobody will listen or advocate for us. I would like to bring a spirit of collaboration, communication, and charity to the City of Bountiful. I am confident my experiences will aid in my ability to serve Bountiful with competence and with a genuine heart. We do so many things well, and I know we can come together, breathe easier, and become stronger, helping to ease the burdens of those who may be overlooked in our community and serving all the citizens of Bountiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Millicent. Up next is Gary Nelson, and after Gary is Shirley Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council people. I'm blown away by the response and the wonderful feeling that's here tonight, and obviously wonderful servants of our community. And I think you would not go wrong if you appointed anybody here tonight. My top priority, if I could choose one, would be to find a way to stop the robocalls that I get every day. I don't know that I have very much influence with the Federal Communications Commission, so I'm going to pick a different priority, and that top priority of mine would be to enhance the Bountiful experience. That's what I call it. We've lived here, we got here 40 years ago. Annette's been here forever, but we got here 40 years ago, and except for some stints in Chicago and Houston, we've raised our family here. We've lived here. We've done a lot of things here. But the Bountiful experience, I think, it can be summed up in a recent study. Bountiful was ranked as one of the safest cities in the U.S. by Safewise, and the only one in Utah, and only one of two in the entire western part of the United States. And I think that's a function partly of how well run the city is. I think it's also a function of Bountiful's citizenry and its commitment to community service and community engagement. And so one of the things I'd like to see in Bountiful would be a way to enhance community engagement. We've talked a little bit about social media. We've talked about other things. I think that it goes beyond Facebook and certain social media platforms. I would like to see us really work on an interactive platform, one that's available to all the all the citizens. And I've been involved in education, higher education, most of my career. And there are some great engagement platforms there, and I'd like to see us develop one similar for the great citizens of Bountiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I just want to ask, when it gets to the point, I don't know if we're close to being halfway, perhaps?
We're way past. We're beyond halfway.
Oh, okay.
7, 8,
I just wanted to ask if
11.
I don't know if people are up for like a little
break,
5-minute break.
Let's do a 5-minute break.
Okay, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Please be back.